Hi, hello, I hope you're taking care of yourself. If you're new here, my name is Lexi, and I've talked a lot, if you've been watching my videos this year, about being in a reading slump. But we've peaked, or maybe troughed, depending on how you look at it, because I only read 3 books in the month of November, which for somebody like me, who's used to reading a lot more than that, is an all-time low, at least for the past few years. But I've been giving myself some space until I felt ready to return to reading. I've been letting myself simmer and think thoughts, and in this video, I'm trying to make a concerted effort to do things that actually make me happy and fulfilled again, rather than just eating no meals all day and then doom scrolling and then consuming an entire box of extra toasted Cheez-Its at 2 in the morning. You know, it's been a really fun month of that. I've had a wonderful time, but I do think that it's time to move on. Will I hit my 2024 reading goal in this video? No, I'm 40 books behind. That's not going to happen. But that doesn't really matter to me. I kind of just want to recenter myself around something that I love doing and hopefully find a few more bangers before the end of the year. The first book that I'm going to be reading is The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and I'm picking this up mostly because I want to read something that will only require 60% maximum of my brain. I have to wean myself carefully back onto reading. I can't just go diving into the deep end. I will drown. That won't work. Because my biggest piece of advice to you if you're in a reading slump is to read whatever it is in the crooked, embarrassing depths of your soul you actually want to read. I would like to make it through a few more memoirs this year. I would like to read House of Leaves. I could write an entire elegy mourning everything that I would like to have read before the end of 2024, but if I'm being real and true and vulnerable with you guys, I feel like what I actually want in the depths of my soul is just to have a little bit of fun. And yeah, my goal is to read at least 100 pages today. The main way that I got through a lot of books when I was in college is every single day I would read at least 1 page. And if it was just 1 page, it was just 1 page and that was fine. But normally, just because of the inertia of your choices, if you pick up the book, you will end up reading more than 1 page. So that is where the value comes from. And my goal would always be 100, but as long as I read at least 1, I was reaching my baseline. I was reaching my floor. And I've been bad these past few months. I've not been doing that. So today I'm reinstating it. I'm going to get through at least 1 page. I'm going to open the book and read some words. And if that's all I do, that'll be okay. But my goal is to get through 100. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if I remember how to interpret the different shapes of letters on a page. I haven't done that in a while. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. But before we get into that, I just have a quick word from the sponsor of today's video, which is Wattpad. If you have spent your entire conscious life on the internet so far, living underneath a rock, and you don't know what Wattpad is, let me have the honor of telling you that Wattpad is a digital community where authors of all ages and all backgrounds come together to share stories. And these people are writing everything from BTS reader insert fanfiction to a completely original werewolf adventure. And even if you think you know what Wattpad is, you think you understand what's going on over there, I can promise you that there are so many new and exciting things that are happening all over the platform. Wattpad just turned 18, which is terrifying for any of us who have been around for a while. And they just announced the winners of the 2024 Wattpad Awards, which are kind of like the Oscars, but for Wattpad. And in general, you can browse an entire selection of Wattpad originals, which are stories that are handpicked by the Wattpad team as being some of the best that the platform has to offer. I have read many a Wattpad story in my time, and they have something for everybody, whether you're looking for a second chance romance, a slick chosen one fantasy story, maybe something mafia to take the edge off of your cool winter afternoon. Whether you want to read something that is already complete that you can just binge through in one sitting, or follow something that's ongoing so you can kind of be a part of the community moment, I promise you that Wattpad has something for you. And I really do think that if you haven't experienced Wattpad before, if you've never had access to this gigantic free repository of stories, it is something that will make you a better and more discerning reader. It's going to raise the standards for the things that you pay for out in the world. And you can check out Wattpad today and be very hip and cool and interesting through clicking the link in my description. Thank you again to Wattpad for sponsoring this video. It's really cool to actually have an opportunity to work with you guys, but let's get back to it. If you're wondering what this book is about, we are following this girl named Araya, who is the adopted human daughter of the reigning vampire king. In this world, you have 3 big vampire kingdoms, and Araya's kingdom is perpetually divided by this clan war between her dad's clan, who have pointed, leathery bat wings, and then the other guys, who have pretty feathered wings instead, and are also evil, probably. And Araya was adopted on a whim by the king after her family was killed during one of the rebellions that the other clan did, and she was pretty young at the time, so she doesn't remember a whole lot, but ever since then, her dad, who she has grown very close to, he has been training her to survive in this world where, at best, humans are second-class citizens, and at worst, are frequently just prey for all of the vampires that are around them because they don't have the magic or the physical capabilities that the vampires do. They're kind of just fodder, typically. They don't really have a good time, but not Araya, because she has been trained for basically as long as she has been a sentient human being, and as a result, she has become a dual wielder, a dagger baddie. batty. She's extremely small because of course she is, why wouldn't she be? But her main strength is that she is chronically underestimated by her opponents because she's extremely precise and good at fighting, especially from a disadvantage. And the book really begins because vampires get all of their powers from this goddess whose name is Nioxia. She's the goddess of the night. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Do not ask me. I'm not an audiobook Andy. But every 100 years, Nioxia does this competition tournament thing, seemingly just because she's kind of chaotic and wants to be entertained. And a whole bunch, like 50, 60, upwards of 100 vampires enter this tournament, which is 5 trials that take place over the course of multiple months. It is presumably a duel to the death, like nobody else is going to get out alive. And whoever wins, whoever comes out victorious, will get one wish of their choice granted by Nioxia. And even though she's a human, Araya decides to enter this competition anyways because there's nothing in the rules that expressly forbids it, with the hopes of winning and then being able to like exalt herself through this special ritual process that only Nioxia can do that will basically make her this like magic powered forsworn ally of her dad. It would make her into a vampire without any of the serious risks that normally accompany the procedure, and it would also grant her a share of her dad's magical powers. So that's the plan. Her and her dad are both in on this, and he's really rooting for her as well and trying to like give her gifts and influence whatever he can from the outside. So she enters the trials. Everybody is immediately betting against her and preying on her downfall, and almost immediately she meets this man whose name is Rain with an H. Again, I don't know how that's supposed to be pronounced, but Rain is not like other vampire boys, okay? He has emotions and he's rugged and he banters and he has medium length wavy hair as opposed to either long straight hair or close cropped short hair, which are apparently the stylish options as the streets are saying. And for some reason, Rain is really, really interested in Araya. And so they kind of end up like forced to become allies. I mean, one can imagine that they will eventually be macking, considering the fact that this is romantasy. One could also imagine that that will be complicated given the fact that, again, I'm pretty sure that only one person can survive this competition and they're both competitors. We'll see how they get out of that one, but that's what's going on. I'm currently like exactly 100 pages in because A, there was a section of the book that started on like exactly page 100, but B, that was just all I had in me last night. Narrative wise, I'm like right after the first of the 5 official trials and I am enjoying this so far. I find it fun and it's not particularly deep. Like it's tropey. It's this feral, small, dagger wielding underdog girl ex this large, strong, immortal vampire with probably a dark and dramatic past. Like I could paint you 1,000 portraits of how this arc is probably going to go, but I don't know, not everything has to be that revolutionary. I think that as long as the reveals that will eventually be in this book are not dumb with why Rain wants to ally with her and why her dad is the way that he is and her backstory and everything, even if it's predictable, as long as it's not dumb, I'm gonna have a good time. I'm also a slut for a good tournament arc. I love a trial in a book, even if it's mid. Like having a trial buffs my enjoyment by at least 50%. It just gives you such obvious instant stakes. I like watching people compete and ally and betray each other. It's a good time. And this one is interesting so far, for sure. There are definitely some narrative conveniences, for example, in how the house is set up. They all have to stay, all of the competitors, inside of this gigantic palace, and they live there for the entire duration of the trials, which is multiple months. And the palace is oriented in accordance with the whims of the goddess. So rooms just move around and hallways teleport, and you only have so much control of where you actually go. And like, is this just a way for the main character to teleport to wherever the narrative needs her to be? Yes, but it's also kind of flavor. Anyways, I'm gonna keep reading. It's like evening right now, as you can tell by the fact that the sun is rapidly setting in this window as I record. I'm also going to be doing laundry again today. I'm washing not only my towels, but also my sheets because I'm extremely brave. I regret to inform you that I am, in fact, teeheeing. Just a bit, just a little bit, okay? I like this man. He's not nearly as like furrowed eyebrow, mysterious and annoyed all of the time as a lot of other men in romantasy. He actually reminds me a lot of the guy from One Dark Window, which is a series I still have to finish. Don't worry about it. He's like that guy, except with a slightly less broken spirit. Like he's got like a little bit more sunshine inside of him. I don't know. I feel like Raven with a Y wanted to throw himself off of a bridge a lot more than Rain with an H. You know what I mean? But other than that, they have the same energy. They're both just kind of hardworking, nice fantasy men who are very loyal to the people that they love. And I like that. It's sweet. Okay, hello. I am like halfway through this book at this point, and sometimes I feel like with foreshadowing, authors almost expect you to skim. They must just expect you not to have read or comprehended all of the sentences inside of a book, because if you do, I am quaking with how much I know a major twist that will inevitably be revealed. And I've known it since like page 80 when I read a couple of sentences that were probably supposed to like fade into the lore of the world, and I put them together with my brain. And that's okay. I'm not mad. Again, again, not everything has to be revolutionary, but I'm seeing the same hints towards what is obviously going to happen mentioned again. And it's like, how do you not see this coming? Like, how is it possible that this is going to be a surprise for you? Because let me tell you, the last person that this should come as a surprise to is the main character of this book. I'm just a girl. I'm just a reader stringing together 2 sentences of lore from her internal monologue, but this is this bitch's actual life. This is her history. It's her society. She theoretically knows how it works because she has spent her entire 23 years on this planet living this life. How am I seeing things coming that you do not? I don't know. It's fine. This is making it sound like I'm slowly losing my mind, which is true for other reasons, but the book is okay. I kind of find it to be embarrassing for the main character when things like this happen. But yeah, I do actually like the 2 of them together so far. It's a little slow burn, like nothing that crazy has happened yet. I would say that in terms of being thirsty all of the time, the main character is at like a 3 or so out of 10, as opposed to the much higher ratings that you will see in some other romantasy books. I do find Rain with an H to be a more interesting character, but I think that's kind of like definitionally supposed to be the case. I mean, we know less about him, ergo he has more to reveal. Like, obviously he's going to be more interesting, but their vibe, their banter, their like trauma bonding that they're kind of undergoing right now in this competition, it's been fun to read about.
He pulled me closer, his arm sliding over my back, tugging me forward until our bodies were pressed together, save for the dagger that I still gripped between us. I thought I was prepared for this, but I wasn't prepared for how gentle the movement was, like he was cradling something precious. I tilted my head back, staring hard at the darkness of the stone, harder still as I felt his breath against the sensitive skin of my throat.
It won't hurt much, but you might feel,
I know, I said too sharply. Horny. That was what he was trying to explain to me.
Look, it's not like I'm an expert. I don't have a PhD in vampire romance, okay? I'm just a girl. I'm a girl who's trying to understand. But at this point, it doesn't matter. It's still embarrassing that every single time I find it kind of unexpected when in the vampire romance, the act of drinking blood either makes one or both parties horny. Like, they release pheromones or whatever, and you really have to keep your wits about you. Or who knows what's going to happen? Who knows where that's going to go? Like, that's always how it works. That's how it goes every single time. And yet, every single time I'm like, ooh, wow, get me out of here. Moving on. Hello, I'm done. Okay. The best way that I can describe the romance in this book is it's like camp magic. It's like going to summer camp and there's a boy who's your age in the cabin across the creek from you who's kind of cute, and you guys get paired together for like woodworking or something, and you might have nothing in common with this man beyond being paired together for woodworking like 8 hours a day for a week. Maybe you guys both also have like a sibling and you enjoy the lake conceptually. I don't know, but that's really all that you have. But because you're 13 years old and you're paired with each other for woodworking, you will consider what it would be like to be married to this man. You will form this oddly deep bond with him, and neither of you will do anything about it, and then you'll part ways and you'll never see him again. That's just how it goes. Everybody has this experience with somebody at some point in their life, and the romance in this book just kind of has a camp magic flavor, just in how it happens and the fact that it's happening during this dramatic and time-limited event, and that makes this relationship sound more shallow than it is. I do like them as a couple, actually. I feel like they grow towards each other in a believable way throughout this book, but their story at its core still kind of has the flair of camp magic. And I think that with that come this book's 2 major cons, one of which is that none of the side characters beyond arguably the main character's dad and maybe one of Rain with an H's friends, nobody in this book really beyond the 2 main characters has a personality that would take longer than a sentence of description to share with you in full. There's no Rue in this book, there's no Hamish, there's no Cinna. Because of the camp magic nature of this story, it feels like almost all of the side characters, almost all of the things that are happening in this book just kind of exist to further the romance between the 2 main characters. And you really have to like both Rain and Araya because they're really all that you have. Fortunately for me, when I was reading, I did like them. I thought that they were silly and tropey in ways that I liked, that I didn't find to be like overly cliche. And I do think that both of them had good depth to their motivations. I could see people thinking that the main character's motivations don't make sense, but given how sheltered she is and how few like capstone memories and experiences she really had to hang her hat on, I feel like the ways that her character was kind of confusing and a little bit unreasonable made sense to who she was. And I could also see how both her and also Rain with an H would continue to evolve in the sequel should I choose to read it, which I think I probably will. But again, beyond arguably her dad, nobody else really matters. You don't really give a fuck about anyone else inside of this story, even though the author clearly kind of wants you to. Take that as you will. I just saw them as kind of the hazy ghost image people who only like kind of exist in your memories of summer camp with that person. That's kind of how I took it. They're not really why you're here. And the other main flaw that I feel like this book had that I think comes from a similar place is a lot of the motivations of like powerful institutions and the lore of the world and the plot just kind of rests on this universal philosophy of like, dude, just trust me, people want power and they'll do crazy things to get it. That is really most of what you have to go on for like, again, everybody except for the two protagonists. And obviously there is a seed of truth to that. An all-consuming lust for power is a decent motivation for a villain. It's a decent motivation for a lot of pretty predatory structures in the world and society, but it's always going to come from a more nuanced place than that. The best villains become that way because of something else in their life, like because of other crazy things that have happened to them. Like they have backstory beyond just being crazy and power hungry and ruthless. Like what made them that way? The entire lore of this world just rests on you not caring. And maybe some of that would get better in the second book, but I feel like I should have something beyond just bad vibes that supports the existence of this clan war, of these dueling kingdoms, and the plot. All of the twists, all of the things that end up happening, all of the machinations that are going on, they end up being like kind of interesting, but I'm left just not really caring beyond how it impacts the main relationship, beyond how it spices up the camp magic. So yeah, I feel like because this book was the way that it was, the side characters and the political lore of the world were kind of just sacrificed on the altar of really wanting these two characters to make out. But I don't know, man, just know yourself, because I still had a pretty good time with this. I found it to be quite enjoyable. As I kind of discussed when I was reading, I didn't really expect very much from any of the plot reveals, and there was something that I found to be kind of interesting and surprising, so it gets some props for that. And again, I actually liked the dynamic of the relationship. It's not, I wouldn't call it slow burn, because I don't know, man, I feel like my definition of slow burn is maybe not the normal definition of slow burn, but it does take them longer than the average romantasy novel that I have read to start really being into each other. Like they have a pretty believable development from kind of bantery, suspicious, forced allies to being actual friends before they end up getting together, which I liked. I didn't think that it was over the top. And similarly, I liked the writing. I didn't think it was distracting. Sometimes in books like this, when your main character is a tiny dagger-wielding gremlin, the narration inside of her head can be very annoying. But that was not the case with this for the most part. Araya, I think, was a good perspective character, even if, again, I feel like there are just things going on in this book that she really should have seen coming. She really should have had an inkling of where everything was going to go. Other than that, I enjoyed being inside of her head for the most part. But who would I recommend this to? I don't think that this is going to convert anybody who is not already a romantasy fan. I don't think that it's that powerful. I don't think that, especially the fantasy elements, are quite strong enough for that. But if you do already like romantasy, I definitely think that this is one of the better ones that I've read off of TikTok, for sure, 100%. And I also do think that the trials were pretty well constructed. That was not the weak part of the world building to me. I liked the tournament. I liked the things that they were made to do and the puzzles that they were made to solve. So the book is interesting all the way through for that reason, as long as you're not asking yourself too many questions. But if you want something that is serious business, if you want a once in a lifetime, like really unique and memorable relationship, you're not really going to find that here. But like, I don't know, man. I enjoyed it. I would probably give it either 3.5 or 4 stars. I'll think about it. I'll decide when I'm editing this clip. But it was just a good time. Like, I'm not bending over backwards, quaking with excitement to finish this series, but I'm glad that I read this book. I'm glad that I can add it to a relatively short list of TikTok romantasy that I've enjoyed. But moving on to the pressing topic of my reading slump. Am I cured? I don't know. It's a great question. My entire life, I've been extremely type A. I'm the kind of person who makes to-do lists for all of my hobbies, like all of the things I'm supposed to do for fun. For example, I watched almost every single movie that was nominated for the Oscars in 2023 when Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture. I was like really determined to get into movies that year, so I forced myself to watch even films that I had like absolutely no interest in, just so I could check off the box in my Notion. And that's just kind of how I am with hobbies. It's how I've always been. But this is just my reminder to both you and also myself that reading is supposed to be fun. If it's not fun, if you're not having a good time, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. And I don't think that it's bad to have goals. I have seen some discourse on the internet about how it's embarrassing for people when they're like disappointed in themselves for not reading as much as they would like to. But again, I have been type A my entire life. Goals are the only way that I can make doing anything give me dopamine. But as soon as it becomes not cute and fun anymore, as soon as you're like forcing yourself through things that are actively kind of just making your life worse, when so many other forces inside of your life are going to be attempting to make it worse, like you do not need to add the things that you do for fun and for leisure into that pile. That is the point point where you should have a bit of a wake-up call. You know what I'm saying? Reading should be fun, and it should also challenge you. Like, it should also help you explore feelings that maybe you haven't let yourself feel, understand different perspectives that you have not yourself lived, and those can be laborious tasks, but they're also fulfilling. That's part of what makes it like a fun, wholesome activity, you know? And if it stops being those things, if you're just forcing yourself through things and having a bad time, whether it's reading or something else entirely, some other hobby that you have that you used to love, but you just like don't know what's broken, I give you permission to not do it, to take a break, because sometimes I feel like that's the only thing that you can really do. You'll get the itch again. Like, you'll want to pick up that book, you'll want to finish whatever blanket that you're crocheting, but you should wait until you're doing those things again out of love, or at least like out of hope, rather than just out of obligation, because you're going through the motions and just deflating yourself because of it. You know what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. I don't know. The point is, like, is my slump cured after one book? I don't know, like, kind of, but mostly just because I gave myself a lot of time to not read books and to do other things. I didn't make myself make this video in like the second week of November when things were getting bad. So yeah, unintentionally, that was kind of like a whole thing. My apologies, but I'll get off my soapbox. The next book I want to read, I was recommended in like 4 or 5 different comments in the video that I just posted on romance recommendations, and I just, like, I need to see it to believe it. There's just no other way to describe it, because I refuse to believe that a book that has the title The Nightmare Before Kissmas could actually be that good. It's a title that is so silly that it honestly feels like the author is self-sabotaging. But here's the thing. I have actually never, I don't think in my life, read a Christmas romance book. I definitely have seen my fair share of Christmas movies. Like, I've watched a lot of Hallmark films in my time with my mother, but I don't think I've actually ever read a Christmas rom-com. So that's an experience that I kind of want to have. It's like a little bit over a week until Christmas, so it feels like the time. And I also really, really love The Nightmare Before Christmas. This will surprise nobody who's watching this video. It's a great movie. And all that I know about this book, based on those comments, because I don't even own it yet, like, I'm gonna go drive over to the bookstore after I finish filming this clip, all that I know is that it's a romance between the Prince of Halloween and the Prince of Christmas. And I think that the Prince of Halloween is like betrothed to the Prince of Christmas's sister, or like somebody else in the holiday Regency world, but also somehow, allegedly, according to my comments, the book is like oddly anti-capitalist, and 2 princes of great holidays end up being able to kiss for some reason. I don't know. I kind of want to read it. I feel like it'll be fun. The premise has this particular kind of dumbassery to it that I kind of really like. So I am going to go buy this book. I'll tell you what it's actually about right after this break. It's gonna be a great time. We're gonna read a holiday romance together to warm the fires of our souls. Bag secured. Look at this beautiful cover. I do feel personally offended every single time a book has single color sprayed edges. It's maybe one of my least favorite trends, but it had to be done. I didn't have a choice. It's snowing right now, which is extremely on brand for this book, and I have no plans for the rest of the day other than my emotional support weekly phone call with my long distance low commitment best friend. So if I can channel the powers that I once had, I might be able to just pump through this entire thing today. We'll see. Dude, the main character goes by Cole. Like The Rock. He's edgy. He's built different. He's not like other princes of Christmas. Oh god. Okay, I'm actually kind of excited. I'm gonna start. So this book follows a man named Cole, whose real name is Nicholas Noel Claus. He is the son of Santa Claus. He's the crown prince of the Christmas royal family, and he's also just kind of a fuck up. This whole book takes place in essentially just the modern world, but with the addition of these secret royal families that nobody knows about, who also rule over these secret aristocracies in these cities that all together run all of the holidays that happen every single year. For Christmas, both as an example and because honestly I have no idea what the other holidays would be doing with their magic, all of the holidays are able to harvest all of the joy that people feel whenever they celebrate the holidays all over the world. And for Christmas, they use all of that joy to power the magic that they use to give gifts to all of the children of the world on Christmas. Nobody in the normal world seems to question this phenomenon. Nobody's curious. Nobody wants to know why a bunch of gifts are disappearing in their houses. They're all cool with it. It's just a thing that happens. And all of these royal families are able to live in complete secrecy from the rest of the normal world. But Cole I can't say that with a straight face. Cole, the main character, he again sucks. He's a fuck up. He's kind of a rebellious prince. He gets involved in scandals all of the time. He thinks that his dad is too focused on the expansion of Christmas around the world and on rampant consumerism at the expense of like actual joy that comes from having the means to live an actual life and pursue real fulfillment rather than just getting like a shitty, cheap plastic thing under a tree. This is not a popular take inside of the Christmas society, as I'm sure that you can probably imagine. So Cole's based, but he also kind of is a short fuse and doesn't really think through the consequences of his actions. So he gets involved in yet another scandal, and in the aftermath of that, he goes to a bar and he gets absolutely hammered. And afterwards, when he's fleeing the holiday paparazzi that are chasing him because they have holiday tabloids, it is literally explained to you in the book that they're just published on the internet, but like if you're a mortal who doesn't know about the holiday families, all of the captions don't exist. They're just all like super vague, like foreign royals. Nobody asks any questions at all. They're just allowed to do this. But he's fleeing from the holiday paparazzi and he ends up in this alley with this mysterious man who actually gives him some really good and thoughtful advice. I don't know if feeling good should be the goal, he says, still in that brittle, aching tone. It's more realistic to center on little things. One thing each day that isn't sullied by grief. One by one by one until you've started to rebuild the foundation that got obliterated. Because that's what happiness is at the root, a foundation. And foundations aren't ever one thing. They're many little things interlocked together. It's a pretty concept, but that's never been my experience, that little things have a long-term impact. They shatter the moment weight is put on them. Maybe even putting your weight on the wrong things. Which is actually kind of a bar, honestly. And immediately after that, they start making out, because of course they do. And they get interrupted, and he never learns this guy's name, and they never see each other again. But like, the experience stays with Cole. He returns during difficult times to this advice that he got from this really mysterious and hot stranger. But then, like a year and a half later, Nicholas is about to graduate from college at Yale and join the family business of doing Christmas. And Nicholas Sr., Santa Claus, his dad, announces to everybody, like the entire court, that he will be getting arranged married to his childhood best friend, who is also the Princess of Easter, who is also the sister of his long-term ex-girlfriend that he broke up with, like the same day that he met this mysterious man in the alleyway. And this is a surprise to them both. They're not into each other, like they're not a big fan of this idea. So that sucks, but especially Iris feels like she kind of has to do it to like preserve her kingdom or whatever. But the other holidays start piping up and they're like, dude, you guys, Christmas and Easter, you would be way too powerful if you united your kingdoms together and you started sharing all of your joy and all of your magic. It would cook the rest of us. Don't ask me how, because I don't know, but I guess like there would just be no more room left in the calendar for people to feel joy on other days if they get too powerful. I don't know, okay? And Halloween pulls up and they're all goth. They're all wearing black with like orange pocket squares and they're like, we view this as a threat to our great nation. And Santa Claus is like, dude, no worries, just have your son come and also compete for the hand of Princess Iris of Easter. You guys can duke it out. I will pretend that I haven't rigged it from the very beginning and we can see who wins. And they're like, sure, sounds like a great idea. So that guy pulls up, and who is it but the random man from the bar 2 years ago that Cole magged on? His name is Hex because he's very spooky. He's the Prince of Halloween, and oh no, he's still hot. And however will Cole get out of this situation? That's the premise of this book. This book is so unserious. It is one of the quirkiest things I think that I've ever read in my entire life. It's just so strangely earnest with all of the detail that it gives you on the random ways that this holiday society works, but like at the same time, it's refusing to answer any of the obvious questions that arise within this world. Like, for example, there's no religion in this world. Everything is non-denominational, which I find awesome because, for example, Easter, the vibes are just Iris is really hot and good with plants, and they like put Easter eggs around the world for children to discover. Like that's all that's going on. I don't know, like it's impossible to take seriously, but at the same time, I am legitimately really curious about what lore the author will share with me next. There are certain holidays that Christmas is known for interacting with. The cheerier, brighter holidays. Everything for reputation. Halloween is, shockingly, neither cheery nor bright. They're a major player in our world in their own right, but they keep to themselves. We stick with Easter and Valentine's Day and a few others, and everything's good and no one encroaches on each other's seasons or shit. Everyone wins. As far as I know, Halloween is based out of New England, I think? Hell, that might be wrong. I know next to nothing about them. Same! The humor is also so quirky and over the top that I fear that for some of you it might be unbearable, but for me, I'm finding this to be really fun. Like you have to lean into it, okay? Just embrace the joy, embrace the holiday cheer. Let the silliness cover you up like a weighted blanket. It's sweet. It's a good time. Everybody, at least everybody in the main cast, is at least a little bit gay, and they all have these complicated feelings about consumerism. I don't know, man. I see the vision. I will say, literally nothing to do with The Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, zero. Nothing. I really do feel like that's just a pun to describe that the situation that they have found themselves in is a little bit of a nightmare before they finally, maybe, possibly, will get to kiss on Christmas. I don't know, we'll see. Turns out that the concept of holiday cheer and joy actually is a limited resource between the holidays. These bitches need to get themselves a Sherman Antitrust Act. It's the only way forward. Oh, it's just so silly. It's like evil, centrist, capitalist Santa Claus. Oh no, whatever will the princes and princesses of various non-denominational holidays do against such a serious serious threat.
Maybe that's the point. They believe whatever story my dad is letting out because Christmas is so wonderful and gracious. And why would Santa lie?
Good point. Why would Santa lie? I didn't think that he was able to do that. Never meet your heroes, you know what I'm saying? Well, you're right. Halloween is better than Christmas. Okay, I smirk. Maybe better was a strong... no arguing, Christmas Prince. You are the one who stopped me out for Halloween's undeniably better qualities. Do you want me to adopt you? Oh yes, Daddy. What? Oh my god, stop talking. Stop talking. I don't. E is what keeps coming out of my mouth, followed by a strangled no. And then, for no discernible reason, I make finger guns at him. Stop. I'm already dead. I can't defend this. There's nothing to be said. You know, books are supposed to make you feel something, okay? Just remember that when I finish this book and I tell you it was good, because low-key it still is. I don't care. I'm having a good time, okay? You can't extinguish the light of my joy. Try as you might, no matter how much my enemies would like to see me fall, I will remain strong. My eyes will glaze over the cringe. I do not see it. It is not there. Okay. Hello. I did actually finish this last night, but I wanted to take some time to formulate my real opinion. I feel like this book is pretty straightforward. If it sounds like something that is goofy and fun and that you'll probably like it. But if it sounds like something that could be kind of insufferable, maybe skip it. Maybe don't pick it up. I, as you can probably tell from the footage for this book, had a great time when I was reading this. It's so ridiculous and it doesn't pretend to be anything other than ridiculous, which I appreciate. I think that my biggest problem with it, if I'm going to be annoying and critique it as a serious book for a minute, even though it's like not even pretending to be a serious book. The development of the relationship between Cole and Hex is pretty rushed. I did actually like them both as characters. I liked them together. I thought that they had good chemistry, but there's not even an illusion of will they, won't they. They pretty much instantly are in love. Even if they're not like saying that out loud to each other yet, it's clear that that's what's going on within like maybe 2 weeks maximum in universe in the story, and you do lose something when you do that. The book is also fairly steamy if you're looking for that. I think for me, if I'd cared more about the development, I would have enjoyed it more than I did, but it is what it is. I do think that the descriptions of like good communication and consent around intimacy are very good, which is always nice to see in romance novels because modern popular romance can be a little bit of a grab bag in that respect. But honestly, in that vein, I feel like my main problem with the writing of this book is that the main character, Cole, is just so horny all of the time. He honestly reminded me of like Violet in Fourth Wing. I mean, it's more acceptable because he's not currently at war, so I don't know. I mean, what's he to do? What's he to do in this economy when the spooky Prince of Halloween is just right there, dripped out beyond belief? He's really just a victim of circumstance, but I do think that the internal monologue reads like especially goofy sometimes as a result. So that is just my warning to you. If you know that that's the kind of thing that's going to bother you, you will find it inside of this book. But I liked this. I found it very fun. I think it's probably going to get 4 stars just on basis of fun alone. I don't think I mentioned this, but I also especially liked the side characters. I feel like Cole especially had a really good journey of recognizing how he's not always been the best inside of his friendships and like appreciating the role that his friends serve in his life. And that is off of the back of you liking the friends, like you like those characters. So that was good. But yeah, if you're looking for a pro-union, but also their monarchies queer holiday rom-com where the lore doesn't really make any sense, but also still is somehow like really interesting, you might not even know that that's what you're looking for, but it's right here. It's right here in front of you. You too could maybe have a really fun time with this before Christmas. But anyways, I think that that is where the journey ends for this video. I did actually read this all in one day, which feels like a Herculean feat considering how it's been recently. And books like this that are just goofy and I have a good time, they're really important when it comes to remembering why we're here, like why I like this, why I like talking to you guys about it. So I would consider this to be a mission success. Side note, before we end, I've gotten a few comments asking me when I'm doing best and worst books of the year or any other year-end content, and I definitely will be doing that, but I also kind of don't believe in doing end-of-year content before the actual end of the year. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I just feel like anything could happen. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But those will be out sometime in January, if you're curious. Probably most of you who are watching my videos will be able to predict what will make the cut, but maybe there will be surprises, you never know. But yeah, that is really everything I have to share with you on this lovely December afternoon. Please stay warm or cool wherever you are this holiday season. Please take care of yourself. Please have a good time celebrating whatever it is you choose to celebrate. And thank you for being here this year. It's been my first full year of making content on this channel, and I have had a really good time with all of you guys. So thanks for that. That's it for now. I love you guys. I don't have anything else to say. Bye.